Hey everybody, thanks for watching today's podcast episode. You might notice when you start watching it that you can't see me. Reason for this is just because the studio we used that day was kind of a weird shape, so I couldn't get the camera to fit us all in, and I thought it was more important that you see the lovely guests. So I'll put a little picture of me in case you'll miss my face. And yeah, enjoy the episode. Welcome to Grazing Hell, the one and only podcast written and produced by a cow, or made by a cow is a more concise way of putting it, but I've got guests today. Isn't that exciting?
Hello.
Yes, I've got some great guests. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Savannah, Sav, the queer Kiwi.
Yes.
As you probably know me by.
Yes.
And I'm Kat, the queer Kiwi's best friend.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely honoured, and when I told the subscriptions that you were going to be here today, they were extremely excited.
I'm very flattered.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people asking us to do something together as well.
Oh.
Like, every time I'm like, go on my Instagram and say, like, ask me questions and like, ask me things. They're like, collaborate with Tara. And I'm like,
That's so sweet.
I promise I will.
Yes.
And here we are.
Exactly. I know. It's nice that we live in the same city, so we can actually do that. But just in case people aren't aware of your work, I mean, very unlikely, but, you know, in case they are, do you want to just sort of tell us about what you do?
So I make just a lot of videos, usually going through like Reddits and Instagram posts and stuff, just talking about queer things and heterosexuals doing weird things and just laughing at them while also having a bit of a chat about things that are probably a bit important to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love about your videos. Like, you'll talk about really, in one way, the topics are really serious because it's about like toxic masculinity, you know, homophobia and stuff, but you do it in a way that's makes it light and, you know, like you pick examples that like are funny and can like find some entertainment from it, which, yeah, I really enjoy. It's just, how long have you been doing the queer Kiwi channel? God, that's harder to say than you'd realise. I
think I uploaded my first video May last year.
So you're a quarantine YouTube baby.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah, our channels both sort of started doing quite well at like the same sort of time because this time a year ago I only had 2,000 subscribers.
Awesome.
So I think I hit like 100k and then I started getting your channel recommended to me, and so I was watching you grow like exponentially fast at the same time I was also growing exponentially fast, which was very impressive.
Quarantine was kind to us in some obviously not really.
No.
But yeah, do you remember what video it was that popped off for you?
So the video that popped off for me was my first reacting to straight TikTok video, which was me sitting in my lounge. I filmed it entirely on my phone. So like no microphone, no lights, nothing. It was just like selfie mode on my phone, leaning against a stack of books in my auntie and uncle's lounge because that's where I was living at the time. Because I obviously moved to London thinking I was going to be able to like get a job, and then we went into COVID.
Oh god.
And then it took like a few months, but like after 3 months, for some reason, that video just started picking up, and like every day it was getting like 1,000 views and 3,000 and so on. And then it just like everything went from there. But I was on TikTok as well before that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So would you say that you had your growth on TikTok before? And
my TikTok grew really fast, but then YouTube was very separate. The audiences were not the same. I got like 1,000. So I had like 170k on TikTok, and then I made YouTube and it got like 1k. And then they grew completely separately from each other, which I thought was really interesting.
That is, though, I think for the long term, that's probably better in a way, because if you rely on one audience, that can be kind of scary, and it's nice that you've got these two successful things that are separate, and if one collapses, the other doesn't. So
that is true.
Yeah, so that is a nice way of doing it. So yeah, you're both Kiwis.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about what brought you to the UK? Did you move at the same time?
No.
I have a very different coming to London story, because I moved out of New Zealand when I was 14.
Okay.
And then I moved to Indonesia. And then I moved to Tokyo. And then I moved to Germany. And then I moved here.
Amazing.
So I've been kind of jumping around, moving to different places. And I was in Germany, and because of the pandemic and stuff, I didn't really know where to move next. I was just moving out of, family homes and stuff. And then, Sarah was like, I'm trying to find a place. So I was like, we had this dream when we were like 10 years old that we would, get an apartment in London together. And we did it. So, yeah.
Amazing.
And it was all thanks to YouTube.
Yeah.
So.
Really?
Yeah. YouTube is the only job I've had since moving here.
Yeah.
Which is very helpful that it was able to work out for me.
Yeah. I mean, what would you have looked for had YouTube not taken off?
So I was looking for retail work because that's all I've ever worked before. I was a piercer when I was 17 and then I went into minimum wage retail after that. And then I moved here after like saving up for like a year and was looking for like retail work and stuff. And then obviously all the shops closed. And we were to a point where like I was right when YouTube started earning me money. It was like just before that I was having to consider going back to New Zealand because I was not going to be able to stay for much longer.
Yeah.
Even living with family, like I was very lucky. I didn't have to pay rent or anything.
Yeah, but even just living, I mean, London is expensive, just food is more expensive here than outside of London. So
New Zealand actually has the most expensive groceries.
Really?
Groceries are 14% more expensive in New Zealand.
That's wild. Why? Is it just because transporting stuff there?
I think partially yes, but also like New Zealand food products are more expensive in New Zealand than they are in the UK.
What?
I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense.
That is bizarre. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd love to go, though. New Zealand looks very pretty.
Yeah, there are some very beautiful places in New Zealand, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of rain, though.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about that when we came in because we all travelled in the rain. You had to buy an umbrella, right? Was that
so expensive?
How much?
It was £12
for
for an umbrella.
You know what I find really cheeky is that for such a rainy country, we charge so much for umbrellas.
It's ridiculous.
We do.
And they're like terrible quality umbrellas.
Yeah, they collapse after one use.
Awful.
Yeah.
£12? Ridiculous. But
yeah. I
they
hope
do
it
on
lasts
purpose,
you for
right?
the journey home and it doesn't break on the way. We'll see. But awesome. Okay, so yeah. Oh, good stuff. Okay, so now that quarantine theoretically is over, I mean, we can debate about whether it should be and how the government has handled it. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure we all have feelings about that. But like, what are you kind of looking forward to with your work?
I genuinely do not know.
Yeah, that's valid.
It's
That's valid.
It's to the point where it's like the whole time we've both been in London, we've been in lockdown. So like, it's been the whole.
So you haven't known any different.
No. So like our entire lives in London has been in our like either my auntie and uncle's house or my flat. Like that's really it. So this has just become very, very normal because I didn't have like anything before that. So it's hard to know what to like look forward to because I don't know what there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spend most of our time like going like, oh, like there's a street that we've never been to.
Yeah.
Just trying to get outside our little like 4 walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. We usually just look for places to like eat and then we'll go there. And then
I mean, London's good for that. So,
there's so many places to eat.
Exactly.
It's great.
You never run out, I don't think.
No.
Even as a vegan.
No, it's everywhere, which is fantastic.
Yeah. How's New Zealand for vegans?
It was really poor when I first, because I've been vegetarian. I went vegetarian when I was 10, I think. And back then it was really hard. There was not very many options anywhere. If I went out for food, I always just had to get like chips. And then I went vegan in early 2017. And like since then, I was only at home for 2.5 years while being vegan. But like even from first going vegan to when I left, there was a huge difference because it started off with just like one place called Little Bird. Little Bird Unbakery, and it was just an entire place. It was like raw, healthy vegan food. It was like the only vegan place in Auckland. And then by the time I left, there were like a bunch of vegan places had like opened up, and now my sister and my mom are also vegan, and so my sister sends me like photos of the freezers that are full of like 30 different brands of ice cream, where when I was last there, like only a year and a half ago, there was like we had vanilla and like chocolate, and it was like the only two things. So it's quite cool that it's gotten quite good.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it just seems as if, thankfully, the world is getting more vegan. I mean, that's actually a question I wanted to ask. As a fellow vegan, I try not to... I don't bring it up too much in my work because my channel's not about veganism, but also I think, I don't want to... Because, you know, people always talk about the preachy vegan stereotype. It doesn't work, so I feel like there's no point in me preaching because it's actually going to put people off. But secondly, when I think about it too hard, it actually really gets me down. Like the fact that I know more people are vegan, but it's the stuff that we get, you know, the reason we're vegan, that stuff is still happening. And I just wonder what you two do to keep, you know, the faith, if you have faith that, you know.
It's something I've always really struggled with, especially coming from like a big dairy country. Like that's what made me go vegetarian in the first place was I have a batch, which is a holiday house. That's a New Zealand term. So there you go. New Zealand terminology there. And it's on the farm. And so it's in the middle of like a ton of dairy farms. And so like, and also obviously there's like meat and stuff comes from there. And like, I remember just driving there when I was like 9 and I just like burst into tears because I was like, they're going to die. And I was very upset about it. And like knowing that happens and having like seen it so much because it is such a big part of like Kiwi culture and like you're around it all the time.
Really? Okay.
It definitely does make me very upset a lot of the time, and it is hard to like keep the faith sometimes because it does all obviously still happen. And
I think my biggest thing is like, you know, like you were saying, like over the years, even in 1.5 years, you know, now there's like a bunch of different vegan ice creams and stuff like that. So I think the biggest thing that I hold on to is like, you know, the more casual the talk becomes, like, you know, people, you know, talk about like oat milk or, you know, things are like here and here and here soon. And, you know, at like fast food places, they'll be like vegan burger and, you know, those things like that.
Burger King, which is
the
wild.
Vegan burger
it's not
even
vegan
at Burger King.
No,
it's not vegan.
What?
So they have...
What does that have?
They have their vegan burger, which is like the vegetable patty, right? They're like...
Yeah.
But then they have their like Impossible Whopper. It's not even vegetarian.
So,
no, it's not.
No.
They don't tell you that except if you go on the website. They cook it on the same tray as the meat, and they say the reason they do it is they're like, we want the juicy flavor from the beef.
No.
That's why. So I personally don't have...
If I wanted to drink animal juice, I wouldn't be vegan.
Literally.
It's like, I don't have a huge issue with like cross-contamination from like small businesses who can't afford like separate grills.
But you're Burger King.
Yeah. Exactly. And the fact that they even say they do it purely for the beef taste makes me so angry.
Thank you for sharing that, because I mean, not that I've tried it, but like I'm glad I know, because
it's really hard to find because we almost got it.
Yeah.
And then we noticed because we were ordering it, we noticed in the thing of like may contain, you know, milk, eggs, those kinds of things, and I was like, that's interesting.
So then I Googled it because on the Deliveroo app, it doesn't say, because we were going to Deliveroo it because we got given a wrong Subway order. They gave us like dairy, cheese and meat in our vegan sandwiches. So we were like, alternative, we'll try the Burger King burger.
Yeah.
And so I went on Google and I was like, does it contain like, is it vegan cheese? And then it was like plant Whopper, not suitable for vegetarians. And I was like, what?
So not suitable for vegetarians, let alone vegans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
All over Burger King, they have like the big signs being like plant-based.
I've seen them
burger.
on the bus stops.
Yeah, it's so misleading. Like that's actually so awful to do to people.
That's really... I honestly think actually, and I don't know if you've heard of the Reddit, is it Am I the Arsehole or something?
I've heard of it,
Is it something like that? And someone said it was like the classic nightmare that their friend fed them meat without telling them as like a prank. And I honestly think bar, murder and stuff. It's one of the worst things you can do to a person.
Absolutely.
If it's something that really matters to you, and whether it's like a religious reason, like whether you just eat halal or whatever, I think like putting something in someone's body that they don't consent, I just think it's like such a shitty thing.
It's
to
also
do.
like really, really dangerous.
Yeah,
like
because it could be
even like morals aside, even though that's awful, you shouldn't mess with people's morals, blah blah blah. But like, people can actually be like deadly allergic to some things. When people have dietary restrictions, they are there for a purpose. They're for a reason. They're not just, selectively. So when people feed you something that you don't want without telling you, or like, it's basically just being like, I know you better than you do kind of thing.
It's very arrogant.
It's really like, and it's dangerous. It can kill people. It's just overall, why?
It's such I just don't see any humor in it. Oh, actually, it's worth mentioning that Am I an Arsehole post, the person was the person who was fed meat, not the person that did it, because then it'd be like, you are the arsehole, obviously. But fortunately, all the comments were like, you have every right to be angry, you're not an arsehole, like it's your body, so that was pleasantly surprising. You'll like this. The other day I saw the flip, is it Uno reverse, where you see a terrible Reddit and everyone's agreeing with them. It was a landlord. I don't know how you feel about landlords, but I guess based on maybe some of your politics, you've got feelings about them. Maybe not. But, landlords aren't unproblematic, let's put it like that. And it was a post that was like, it's so bad that I'm laughing because otherwise I'll cry. It was a lovely young man, my tenant died. Should I try and get money from his estate, from his parents, to pay for the rent? And basically what had happened is the police... This is interesting. The police had closed off his flat for several months, so implying that the death wasn't natural.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't... unless it was a crime scene, right? So he was like, can I ask for money? And obviously Twitter roasted him to shreds, thankfully. But it was interesting seeing some of the defences, because some people were like, oh, well, that's their income and stuff. And it's a bit like, well, maybe you shouldn't buy something you can't afford to... Like, if you're expecting other... Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole landlords thing, I think, like, get a job.
No. It is.
That sounds harsh.
It is very like, I like profiting off of other people's existences.
Well, we all have to live.
Exactly.
And this poor young man died. Doesn't say how. And how should I exhort from his grieving parents? Also, it's like, it's his parents. They're not responsible for him.
Yeah.
No. It's his tenancy.
Yeah. It's just how like separated from people can you be to be like, this person died, how do I make profit off of that?
Exactly.
Like, how is that the thought that enters your head, other than...
Especially if it is like a crime.
Well, I want to know more. I mean, that's the thing, because it's from the landlord's perspective. We don't actually know how this person died, why the flat's been closed off by the police. Like, that's
Also, from a police perspective, going from this crime scene to a landlord being like, now that they're dead, can I have money from them? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's, I think, something about this whole last year is that, I mean, as well as just veganism, like, because of the people you cover, how do you keep faith in people?
We recently had to go on a holiday.
Yeah, awesome.
Because we realized I hadn't taken a break for a really long time. It was really, really starting to, like, get to me without, like, even really thinking about it too much. You don't really notice. Like, I noticed that we were both very, very, like, down and, like, not doing too great. And sometimes you sort of realize that what we do is, like, quite a lot. I'm very good at discrediting myself and being like, oh, it's an easy job, which then I spend, like, hours going through, like, scouring the internet for, like, posts that are, like, I can talk about but aren't, like, too much, but I still see the too much things.
Of course, you filter that shit out.
And then, like, I obviously have, like, PTSD, and so sometimes, like, especially with, like, the nice guys type of posts, I can, like, really trigger myself unintentionally. I always think that I'm much like better at managing myself than I actually am, and so that sort of stuff, and then continuing to work through that is like not very good for myself. And so we needed to take a break. We feel much better now after a week off.
Where did you go?
We went to Brighton, which was
I saw that.
It was so nice because like obviously New Zealand is all beaches because it's like the shape of New Zealand. You're never more than half an hour from the beach. Like even the capital where I'm from. No, I'm not from the capital. The biggest city.
Yeah,
that's where I'm
from.
The
You're capital.
You were born in Auckland.
I'm from the. Sorry, this is an argument we have often.
No, please share.
Everyone hates Auckland, which is the big city, which is where I'm from. There's 1.5 million people in Auckland, 4.5 million people in the whole country. Like it's
the big city folks. Nobody likes them.
Yeah, everyone hates us. But she was
was
born there and then moved out when she was 2, so I bully her for being born there, and she gets upset.
I'm from Wellington, the coolest city.
Okay.
But even like the city itself is on the ocean, like the center of the city. Like I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen like photos of Auckland, like the Sky Tower. That's like on the water effectively, so you're always close to the beach no matter where you are, and going a year and a half without seeing the ocean was like genuinely really difficult. And so going and like being in the ocean, a lot of people I'm sure cannot relate to this, but nowhere makes me feel as safe as being in the ocean. So
I love that.
A lot of people are very scared of the ocean, but like particularly
I mean I can't swim, so
we have to learn to swim. It's like compulsory education at primary school.
It should be everywhere, even somewhere not
primary
swimming.
Schools have pools. Usually primary schools have pools, and you have to do swimming like once a week. You have to be able to swim 200 meters. A lot of people, myself included, did surf lifesaving as a kid as well. Like there's competitive surf lifesaving.
That's jokes.
So I did. I
will save the most lives.
So you do like short sprints, swimming. You have to do a 200-meter swim, so you have to swim like 100 meters out in the ocean, 100 meters back. We get a lot of sharks too, so
that gave me the heebie-jeebies.
So
big sharks.
Yeah, sometimes there are some big sharks.
We had one time in Wellington, where I'm from. It's on the, what's it called, the wharf,
like the
harbour. And we have this little. It goes into the like little city kind of. It's like a little pool kind of area, and an orca whale got stuck there for 2 months. Not stuck, it wasn't stuck, it just stayed there for 2 months. It could leave at any time, but it just stayed
chose
there.
not to.
Yeah,
like a cat that comes into your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
But usually there's like swimming places there, or like little paddling boats for children, but that was gone for 2 months because there was an orca whale. Orca whales are
terrifying.
They're scarier than
orcas.
A lot of sharks.
Yeah, I love sharks. I love sharks.
I mean, sharks are misunderstood.
Yeah, they are. But my house, like the one I was talking about in like the countryside is also on the beach. So we go to the beach every like Christmas, New Year's and stuff. And there's every single time. There's always at least one day where you can't go in the ocean because there's like 5 sharks.
Jeez.
And stingrays.
So it's like the weather forecast, but shark forecast.
Yeah. But you learn how to spot them. Like, if there's like a ton of seagulls and like all diving in the water, you're going to assume that a shark's going to come in because that means there's a lot of fish. So when there's a lot of fish, you're like, okay, there might be a shark. But I also really like being like deep in the ocean. So I'm usually like the one furthest out into like, I like being like 2 meters deep in the ocean.
Oh wow.
Which a lot of people aren't a fan of, but I don't like touching the ground. So because I have seen too many stingrays. I don't like touching the ground. So I'll always go out like deep. So then I don't have a choice. I can't touch the ground. But that also does mean that if there is a shark and they do, it is easier to mistake me for a seal if I'm not touching the ground. And then there's been a few times I've been like caught in rips and stuff, which is never super fun. But again, in school you have to learn sea and sun safety at school. It's like part of the curriculum at primary school to learn how to spot rips, what to do if you get caught in a rip, and if you get dragged out. And there's obviously you have to like swim between the flags, because we also have a lot of really dangerous beaches. In what
because of sharks or other things?
Other like rips, tides, waves. Like a lot of people die at beaches.
Jesus.
Because we have a lot of surfers, and surfers are stupid.
They don't follow the rules. They're not as careful.
No, they care about getting big waves. And
Gotcha.
that's it.
They're also mostly sometimes there are a lot of foreigners, surfers, so they come and they don't know our beaches
the
that
rules,
well.
right.
So.
There's a whole like TV show of like ocean rescue, saving people from the most dangerous oceans, and they turned it into a show.
Damn.
But yeah, you have to learn all that sort of stuff at school.
God. I mean, that's great though.
Yeah.
I think that's so useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's I know this has been said before, but yeah, you might be within like a mile of a beach, but in London, you're always within 4 meters of a rat. So who's winning here?
You make a good point.
Yeah.
You make a very good point.
Yeah. It's I've not seen a rat in a while actually. Maybe they're quarantining as well.
We like seeing the foxes.
Foxes. I love foxes.
Oh yeah.
They're so cool. And squirrels. I love squirrels. Yes. We don't have squirrels either.
In New Zealand, you don't have squirrels?
We have a bajillion possums. We don't have.
I like possums.
Oh, they're big pests at home. There's too many. They kill our native birds.
Oh, okay.
Possum trapping, possum hunting is a huge thing. Even vegans possum trap because of how.
I just really like possum memes.
Same. I love
the memes. They're very they're canonically gay animals, aren't they? So I during Pride Month, all the gay possum memes were just creme de la creme.
They're usually a slightly different type of possum. Yeah. We have brush-tailed possums, which are different to like the opossums. I don't know. American possums are very different to our possums.
Yes.
But ours are from here. They were brought from here when we were colonized, but you don't have possums here. So
did we just give them all away?
You gave us all of your possums and you're killing all of our birds.
God damn it.
You gave us possums, rats, and cats. So thank you.
The one that always gets people is that we don't have hamsters either.
At all?
No, and it's illegal to bring in a hamster. So basically, New Zealand, because of how we moved, New Zealand is a very small country that like moved away a really, really long time ago. So it was never like attached to like the big main sort of land. Most of New Zealand's actually underwater, which is a fun separate fact.
Whoa.
They discovered a new continent underneath New Zealand.
It's been there for ages. We learned about that
in
like year 10.
I know,
saw a tweet that was like, they discovered a new continent under New Zealand. I learned that 8 years ago.
Yeah.
This is not new information.
Get with the times, gosh.
But so there were only birds in New Zealand, so it's just forest and birds. And because there were no like land predators or anything, the birds adapted. They got really big. So kiwis like this big, and they don't fly because they didn't need to fly because they can stay on the ground because there's no. The only hunters were flying birds, so they were like the biggest eagle to like ever exist was in New Zealand. Like they were so big that they used to carry away children. This was like hundreds of years. They're extinct now. People killed them. But they used to steal children.
And like moas were like. How big? Like 2 people.
Yeah, 2 people high.
Yeah.
Massive birds. They're also extinct now because people ate them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when New Zealand was colonized in the 1800s, right?
Yeah, 1800s.
The British decided to bring possums and rats and rabbits, which obviously are land mammals, but they were the only mammals. So we just have them and then like mice, rats. Obviously I said rats, cats and dogs, and that's like the extent of it. We also had reptiles, like the tuatara.
Oh, yeah, lizards and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like old dinosaurs that are still classified as dinosaurs because they had never had any reason to, like, evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
And skinks. Lots and lots of skinks that the cats like to kill.
What are skinks? Sorry.
They're like little tiny lizards, like, this big. They drop their tails all the time.
Drop them?
Yeah, when they get scared, they drop them. So, like, if a cat bites their tail, they can drop them and run away.
Yeah.
That's quite smart, actually.
There's quite a few lizards, like bearded dragons and stuff like that too. Australia has lots of bearded dragons. We don't have any of those.
So, no hamsters, guinea pigs?
Guinea pigs, yes. But no, like, I don't think anyone really has. There's not wild guinea pigs here either. But we have, guinea pigs as well.
Rabbits, we have rabbits.
We have lots of rabbits. Rabbit hunting is also a big thing. Hunting in general is a really big thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have guns?
Very strict gun laws. And obviously after the Christchurch shooting, they you can't get semi-automatic rifles anymore. They were completely made illegal as soon as that happened because that was like the first mass shooting we've like ever had. That was a
really
terrible time.
You were in New Zealand at the time.
I was in Japan.
I was at a music festival, and I remember like we were obviously in the middle of like nowhere because most of New Zealand is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And like one person found out and it just like spread across the whole thing because Jacinda Ardern was meant to make a speech like open because it was like a world music festival too of all places. It was like a music festival. I can't remember what it's called, but of like there was a different culture performing every like hour, and so it was like a place where everyone was coming together, and then we found that out and it was like really awful.
What a day.
Yeah. I was just at home. I got a call from my family, and I have a lot of family in Christchurch, so that wasn't
and then there was just memorial services like every day at uni. They were like every day there was like a day where it was everyone was told to like wear a headscarf in like solidarity with that sort of thing. So it's like a big awful thing.
Gosh, I mean, though, as far as compared to other places, it does seem like the government responded, considering like the banning of assault weapons. Like that's
she responded really well to it, which is really
popular.
I'm so sorry.
Or is it an alarm?
It's an alarm.
Oh right, I was gonna be like, you're getting calls. You're just really popular. Don't worry.
Yeah, Jacinda Ardern responded really well. She's done a lot of things really well, but she's also done a lot of things really not well. So it's a bit of a mixed bag with her at the moment.
Classic,
People are very angry at the moment. But,
myself included. I'm sure you've seen my Instagram.
Yes.
Instagram stories. I've gotten so mad about New Zealand recently. I haven't even talked about everything I'm upset about. There's so much that is pissing me off. My mom has been mad at them for a while as well, but much better than Judith Collins, who would have won otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. It was between two women though. So
that's I mean, that wouldn't happen here. So
our Conservative Party isn't like conservative as here, I would.
No, not
really.
Really? Yeah, no, not really.
That's nice in a way.
Yeah. It's all quite interesting. I think there's a lot of things people don't know or understand about New Zealand. New Zealand is very, very good at displaying what they want the world to see from us.
Yes.
Which is very, very interesting because people don't really care about us, right? We're very small, so like it's very easy to protect our image because people just sort of see what they want to. Which is, I guess, why we always yell about it. Everyone online must think that I like hate New Zealand because I've never talked about actually liking it. Every time I talk about New Zealand, it's me being upset because everyone already talks about how great it is, so I feel like I need to like combat that in some sort of way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that I think people often use to sort of say you can't criticize a place. Like that's a big discussion point in America where it's like, oh, if you don't like it, just leave. And it's like, if you love a country, you care about it, and you want to change the things. Like you're complaining because you really care about the people there.
Yeah, exactly.
If you didn't give a shit, you'd be like, well, I'm in London now, so you know what I mean? Like, but you're not, and it's so it's good to and especially as you say, like, I mean, haven't been there, but my image of it is very positive and what I've heard about it. I mean, obviously I know like there's issues with like how they've treated native people and stuff. But that's as far as I know, really.
Think that it's a very, because Jacinda Ardern is like considered like quite left, which she's more of a centrist, really. But a lot of people don't realize how conservative New Zealand is. Since most people are in Auckland, obviously we hold a quarter of the whole population, and obviously big cities are usually more liberal than rural. But a majority of New Zealand is very, very rural. And so although Auckland is very like culturally diverse, and there's a lot of like, you know, like pride and stuff happens there. It's a very big culturally diverse place. Most of New Zealand is like very like
racist
and homophobic and like,
prejudice.
Like just really like you could be in danger if you are like a person of color or like gay. It's quite bad. There's a lot of people who get like attacked and stuff.
Jesus. So actually, I mean that was what I was gonna ask, just because as like how would you say like growing up queer? Well, in New Zealand, you grew up mostly. You left when you were 14.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, my experience in New Zealand was actually worse than anywhere else that I lived.
Really?
Yeah. I got really heavily bullied for. I wasn't out yet. But I went to an all-girls school. People didn't like me. People spread rumors about me. And it got to the point where that's why I left.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, yeah, I was homeschooled since I was 14. So I don't really have any, like, comparatives to how people treat me because I only came out to, like, a certain group of people and now I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I don't exactly have, like, everybody talks about how, like, liberal and how accepting people are in New Zealand,
Right.
and then it's like, that's not really, maybe to, like.
Well, like, I had a very positive experience forever, so I've always been quite, like, I've been very privileged in being able to live in a very accepting bubble for, like, my entire life. I went to a very leftist, artsy school where, like, everyone was queer.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was a very, we had, like, I didn't realize how lucky I was to go to the school that I did. I thought all schools were like it, and then I found out that it is absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
We were, like, the only school in the country that didn't have a uniform, and we also didn't have a dress code. You could wear literally anything you wanted to school. In year, like, 9, it's really funny, like, watching year 9s and 10s, like, dress nicely. Like, I wore a dress every day in year 9, like, did my makeup and everything, and then by the time you get to, like, year 12, I just rolled out of bed and put on my sweatpants and then drove to school, like, 10 minutes before school started in my sweatpants. And then, like, we had, like, the peer sexuality support program where there's, like, an anonymous phone line. If you had any questions about sexuality at all, you could, like, talk about it. Absolutely zero tolerance to bullying, like, at all. That was, like, unacceptable, especially when it came to, like, sexuality and, like, racism and stuff. It was, like, intolerated heavily. I never encountered any homophobia or bullying at high school. I did in intermediate school, but not at high school. And then my family was very accepting. My extended family on my dad's side is all here. I didn't know any of them until I moved here in 2019. But, like, my mom's side of the family is homophobic, sort of racist, but we also don't talk to them, so it was very easy to avoid.
Right.
Except for on, like, Christmas when I was dating my now ex-girlfriend, my uncle and auntie come over and they were, like, not directly homophobic, but, like, very subtly homophobic. Right. And it made me get upset and leave the dinner table early and just go to my room for the rest of the day. Because the way that my mom also doesn't really tolerate that sort of stuff either, so, like, she was very understanding of me just, like, leaving, and she calls them out and stuff all the time because I've been very privileged in, like, even growing up as, like, a kid, my parents would always incorporate, they're like, when you're older you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
I love that.
Yeah, so I was, like, very unaware that there was much homophobia at all until a bit later on.
Yeah.
When I've heard other people's experiences.
So, I mean, and that, I guess, brings me on to being a queer creator. It's literally in your name. Yeah, I mean, do you feel like that's made you more aware, or do you feel a bit desensitized to it because it's like idiots on the internet, bleh, you know?
It's a bit of everything, honestly. Like, it's made me much more aware, which is very upsetting. Realizing how many just awful people there are with so many awful views. Like, I didn't realize how bad it was, because obviously you live in sort of a bubble. Like, on the internet you find yourself in, like, only around people who share similar beliefs to you. And I also went to a school where everyone also shared the same beliefs as me. And so going from that to then being just entirely online and surrounded by it, I've learnt so much since starting, like, TikTok and everything. Like, the internet has, like, hugely helped educate me, and I'm still learning everything as I go, and it's made me way more aware of that. But at the same time, I found it really interesting in the fact that, like, despite having, like, queer in my name and all my content is queer, I've never received a homophobic comment.
Interesting.
I receive a lot of misogynistic comments.
Yes.
But I never receive homophobic comments, which I find so interesting, because I know a lot of queer creators who do. So I've always been really fascinated by that. Like, I've got a video with, like, 800k views, and it's, like, not any homophobia or anything, which I find so interesting.
There's a lot of people accusing you of being like heterophobic, but not
Yeah, people get mad at me for being heterophobic, but never any homophobia, which is very interesting.
Really, I suppose because you really are what it says on the tin. Like, you're called the queer Kiwi, you've got rainbow hair.
Yeah. The only problem I have is that, like, I feel almost like it's a difficult one because I've made my entire thing about being queer, but obviously, like, my queerness means that I don't have like a preference to any sort of gender, but it also almost makes me feel like there's a pressure to, like, if I dated like a person identifying as male, particularly like a cis man, that people would be upset with me.
Interesting.
Because, like, it is that thing of like there is a lot of like biphobia and things that like definitely exist, and I feel like if I dated like a cis man, people would be like genuinely like upset and feel like deceived, because I've seen that happen before.
Oh, really? With creators?
Yeah, just in general. Yeah, like people who identify as queer and date men, they're like, oh, you're faking it. And I have seen it happen with creators and things, so it's like a bit of a like weird pressure that I feel, which kind of is just off-putting in terms of just dating in general.
Yeah, I think the thing that you have to realize is your whole thing is like educating people. Yeah. So like that's not the people you want on your channel anyway.
No, exactly.
Is the people who are biphobic shouldn't be watching your content anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it is amazing how sort of prevalent it still is. I think it's I mean, I had a recent kind of wake up call. I mean, I'm bisexual, but I kind of got called out for biphobia in my recent video, which was really interesting. And like the people that did, like, they did it in a really nice way. So it's not, this isn't like a roast. This is like a thank you for telling me. I basically briefly, it's the one on heterofatalism. And I briefly said, so as like something along the lines of like, as a bisexual woman, you might have like straight passing privilege. And I think people took issue with that because it was kind of, maybe privilege is the wrong word. It's often used as like a way to shut down bi women. And basically it's just like a phrase people want to move away from. And I think it's also important to point out that like that might be the case for me. I might appear straight, but that might not be the case for a lot of bisexual people.
Yeah.
Because I think in my head, when I thought, oh, if you walk down the street with like a opposite gender appearing person, regardless which you are, people won't clock you're queer, right? That was my logic. But I suppose that was probably like maybe a bit of a simplistic way of looking at it. And I think it's just interesting that how like even as like a bisexual person, there are things you can, like tropes you can fall into where you sort of like I made a really general statement about bisexual people and it was like, actually, no. So it is very interesting. And I feel that pressure too. Like when you said the pressure of like, like representing queerness or any identity as a woman, you know? It's a tricky thing to navigate.
It is. And especially with like content like ours and like educating people and stuff, it's very also a lot of pressure of like accidentally giving misinformation as well. There's a lot. And I feel like this is on topic, but I am very good at going in all over the place with when I talk.
No, please talk.
There's like, wait, what was I saying? I apologize for like talking all over the place. In the process, I forgot.
Pressure to get things right.
Yeah, but then I moved on from that.
Okay.
If you wanted to date a man,
it's okay. If I remember, I will get back to
don't
you.
worry. Don't fret.
Because like with the things about getting facts right, you do so much research in your videos. She spends like 4 to 5 hours, making sure that she has everything. She finds posts and then she writes a script for like 2 hours and then she double checks her facts. And then it's a lot of like, because I caption everything that you say. It's a lot of, you say one thing wrong and people clock it. Like even like sometimes because of accents and stuff like that, we pronounce things wrong or like we pronounce things differently to other people, and also reading out loud is sometimes hard, especially for you.
I trip over my words all the time.
And
I feel you.
yeah, sometimes people do that thing of like you say something wrong and then every single comment will be just making fun of the way you say it. And that's always really...
It's like one word in a 20-minute video.
Yeah,
and
it's a
you
bummer.
said that one. I like the ones that are like, I love you, but you said this one word wrong. Like, does it really matter? You pronounce my name wrong. I guarantee you commenter would pronounce my name wrong. Because my name is Savannah, right? And obviously, like, here people would say Savannah. In America, it's Savannah, which is not...
Savannah.
It's not my name, and I'm sure people would... I always make the joke of, like, they'd probably correct me in saying my own name wrong. Yeah.
I relate to that. I grew up in the US as a kid, or for a bit of a chunk of my childhood, and obviously my name's Tara, but there the name is Tara. Though it sounds like terror. But anyway, interestingly, other creators have always pronounced my name right. Like when people have mentioned me in the video, like even American, so love that. But the bonkers thing is people commenting, it will say my name, but they'll call me Tanner. And I'm like, it literally says Tara or Terra. They'll put Terra, and I'm like,
it says your name, and also you say your name at the start of your video.
Yeah, that's the thing, like cows and Taramuni. Yeah, exactly.
How do they?
I don't know. Unless it's like a deliberate thing. I mean, maybe they're messing with me, but it's amazing how common, how common the Terra and the Tanner gets me.
That's so bizarre.
Unless it's the R key next to the N key, but even so, like,
bizarre. It's someone's
and they
name.
Aren't. They aren't even the R is up here and the N is down
right.
here.
Okay, well, I was trying to find a reason, but I guess they just, I don't know.
It's very, very strange.
Yeah.
This is why people just, like, because I don't say my name very often. A lot of people don't.
It took me a while
to
to work out what your name was when I started watching your videos. It's like, what are you actually...
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. And I love when people comment on my Instagram, like, what's your name? Like, it says in my bio. Like,
yeah.
So people started calling me Kiwi, and I think that's so cute. I love that everyone calls me Kiwi. So that helps people won't mispronounce my name either if they just call me Kiwi. Otherwise, I usually go by Sav, because then accents aren't like an issue or anything.
How can you get that wrong, right?
Exactly. Like I had someone DM me the other day being like, I love your content, but I'm a New Zealander, and you saying the queer Kiwi feels like you're saying you're the only queer Kiwi, and it's really invalidating as a queer New Zealander.
No. That's not real. Surely not.
No, I get the weirdest DMs.
That was a DM.
That was a DM. Someone DM'd me that. They were like, it's really invalidating that you call yourself the queer Kiwi. I think you should change it.
To A
queer Kiwi. Yeah. I thought it was so funny. I was laughing about it for way too long.
Wait till they find out about that queer Kiwi.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah. Let's talk about weird DMs and weird comments and stuff, because that is one of the funniest, but also kind of most uncomfortable parts of the job, I'd say, is persistent messaging.
Yeah.
What's your way of dealing with that?
I usually just don't say anything, or I subtweet. I often, like yesterday, I had a comment because I did my mental health video. I did a mental health video yesterday, and I mentioned that I have ADHD, and I was like, yeah, it takes me ages to do things, and I just, like, the example I use is like, yeah, I like sit down and it takes me like 4 hours to write like a few notes, and I had a comment that was like, ADHD looks more like you wouldn't be able to get out of bed for days. That doesn't sound like that's not ADHD. You don't have to medicalize everything. And I'm like, are you my doctor?
Yeah.
What are you? Hello?
You've literally been diagnosed, right?
Yeah. And people say that sort of stuff to me. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't know. Yeah. It's really weird. I've even had people say, like, they're like, you're faking your queerness. And I'm like, what? Why would I do that?
Wow. Also, how does someone fake being? Like, that's always an argument that I'm like, why would someone... I don't know. I never get the thing of like, if you're queer, you have to be this, otherwise you're faking it. It's like people can express themselves as however they want to.
Also, what would be the motivation for faking something that is not even accepted in all parts of society?
I was dating my ex-girlfriend. We were in a relationship, and I got a DM from someone saying, you don't actually love her. You're not gay. I can see it in your eyes. And I was like, what?
Wow.
That's the weirdest thing anyone has ever said.
That's the thing I find really inappropriate is when people try and comment like really personal shit about like. So I've had a couple comments like about health. You know, people being like, "Oh, you look ill. Like you should go to a doctor." I'm like, "Hey, health anxiety? No, thank you." But also, it's like inappropriate.
Yeah. Like,
that's really inappropriate.
The first few times I like didn't wear makeup, I had people comment
right.
like that. Or like when. Because I am terrible at sleeping. I don't sleep very much. So people are like, you look tired. Are you okay? Like, I'm like, yeah, I just didn't sleep. I'm fine. But like also that's like unimportant. Like that's none of your business. I don't know. Because it doesn't usually come from like a loving place. It's just like they don't even say like, I hope you're okay. It's like, you look really tired.
Yeah, that's it. That's the comment.
Because I am really tired. That's why.
Yeah.
It's that thing of like people... I don't know. People have lost the kind of barriers of things on the internet and stuff like that. So, like, you know, people assume that you're their friend and stuff. And it even crosses over. I see it a lot with, like multicultural, like, multi-language stuff. When, like, English speakers or come onto, like, I see a lot with, like, Japanese spaces, like, Japanese artists. You know, they'll comment things of, like, we have this joke of like, you see a funny thing, you're like, delete this, haha, delete this. But like with people who don't speak English, they're going to see delete this and just be offended by it. So there's like a big thing of like, you know, we have to realize that not everybody has the same experiences as us. So people aren't going to take words the same way or, you know, phrases the same way. So like even if you would genuinely, like you go up to your friend and you're like, you're tired today. That's not your friend. It's a content creator. It's like there kind of has to be this discussion of like what's appropriate to say to your best friends who you know in real life, what's a thing to say to like people you've DM'd before, or like people like content creators that you've never met. It's like you have to realize that they are still like strangers. Yeah.
They are. And I think that's part of it is that people feel like they know you, which on one hand is nice and lovely because you, like, you know, the parasocial relationship, like, there are many benefits to it. But I think it's just when it comes into that invasive territory.
There are official lines
that
exist.
Yeah, it's the thing of, like, parasocial relationships usually come for, like, comfort or, like, community. And it's, like, that has to be reciprocated from you as well. So if you aren't bringing comfort to your creator as well, it's not really the same thing.
That's interesting. Yeah.
You know, it's like if you're not saying positive things to a positive creator, or like you shouldn't be saying negative things to a negative creator either. But like,
interesting.
You know, if you go to someone because you get comfort or like acceptance from someone, you should also be reciprocating that kind of same energy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I get a lot of trauma dumping in my DMs too.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah. Do you get people asking like for therapy?
So much. I get, because this is why I can't go through my DMs. Like I do sometimes.
That's a bummer.
Every now and then, like I'll check to see if I've had like story replies, but like I do get people in my DMs who just trauma dump, especially after I posted back in December. I did like an hour-long video sort of talking about my abusive relationship and my experience with that and coming out of it in therapy and stuff like that. And after that, I got like a ton of DMs sort of about they're like, your video really helped me, but then they were like trauma dumped
telling
about
everything
their abusive relationship, and like I'm like, don't come into my DMs and do that, because like I also struggle, and like that's very triggering for me. And it's like, it's one thing to like come and say thank you for helping me. I really appreciate when people are like that, but then when they like go into detail about their experiences, like I understand it's good to get it off your chest, but like trauma dumping on someone, especially someone you don't know, is like very not cool, especially when I've expressed that like I do have triggers and I do have like PTSD, and so there are certain things where if you say it to me, I'm gonna be stuck in bed for 3 days.
Right. And also it's like, it's obviously bad for yourself and your mental health, but on their end, it's like, if you want help, go to someone who's qualified.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We are not trained in this. We are not qualified to give you therapy.
Yeah.
We could cause more damage. Like, even if we have good intentions, we could cause more harm.
Exactly.
And that's why, I mean, it's really important that people know that. So.
Yeah.
What sort of weird DMs do you get?
So I mean, lots of like. Well, actually, no, I exaggerate. I think most of them are nice. And most of them are really sweet. And every day I get sent cows, which I love.
Amazing.
I think the weird ones have been like, I don't know, stuff like where I feel maybe someone has misunderstood what I said and run with it and been like, oh, you should correct this. And I'm like, that's the opposite of what I said. Like, for example, in my first podcast episode, this is a funny example. I don't know if you remember Lana Del Rey did like an Instagram post all about these musicians. Okay, well, basically Lana Del Rey made an Instagram post about lots of artists, and they were mainly women of colour. And in my video I went, women of colour except Ariana Grande, because she's white.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh, just so you know, Ariana Grande is not a woman of colour. That's not an example of a DM, but that's an example of a comment. And like sometimes I'll get DMs like that where it's like, oh, you know this, and I'm like, I don't know how to politely be like, no, you've really misunderstood. So that was quite a funny one, because I was just like, wait, but what? Do words not mean anything anymore?
I also love when people decide to like explain back to you exactly what you've said. People just explain things back to you that you've already said. I especially like it when they're like, I disagree because, and I'm like, you just said exactly what I said in slightly different words. So you clearly don't disagree. Or when you can tell people haven't watched the video.
Oh, they've just seen the title.
Yeah, because my video yesterday was called Please Get Therapy, right? Because I think we all need therapy. That's the whole thing of the video, is I'm like, the world would be better if we all got therapy.
I agree.
And it was me watching like mental health TikToks, sharing my mental health like therapy experiences and stuff. And like I meant it as like a genuine like, you need therapy. But obviously usually my titles are very much like talking about like men and stuff like that. And I do it like, haha, So I think there were people who like assumed that it was one of my normal type of videos like that. So I had some comments being like, yeah, you're right, these people are they're so bigoted. And I'm like, no, you didn't watch the video.
Right.
Yeah, they really need help.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all need help.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But they like commented as though I was talking about like the hets or whatever in my normal sort of tone. Which I thought was just very funny that they clearly didn't watch the video. Or people comment stuff and like they're like, this as well. I'm like, I said that at the end of the video. Maybe if you just watch the whole thing, you would understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's endlessly frustrating, but it's also so inevitable. Like, I don't know why I let it annoy me, because I know every video I post out, there's going to be like lots of people sort of interpreting something in a way that is so like far from what I said. It's like, why do I let this annoy me? But I do every time. I'm like, words don't mean anything. But then it's like, no, this is YouTube. Like, I don't know. Part of it, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because it's like part of it's like, okay, it's part of the job, but then the other side of it is like, how do you put your foot down? I don't know. What point do you?
Yeah.
I know, obviously, for little things like that. Oh, sorry, my belly rumbled. The Ariana Grande example. Obviously, I'm not going to make a video like, "Hi guys, I know Ariana Grande's white." Just but I just mean like, in general. Like, actually, interestingly, I wanted to ask, when you've mentioned people in videos, have you ever had someone reach out? Or respond?
Vegan teacher.
The vegan teacher.
Oh my god, she did, didn't she? Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
I did the video about the vegan teacher. And then she did a response video, and then I did a response video to her response video. And I thought that was quite a funny sort of thing, because obviously usually the people who like come after the vegan teacher are not vegans, and they're
just like, oh, she's cringy. Oh, just for context, actually, for anyone listening, that vegan teacher, or the vegan teacher, whatever she's called, she's like a lady in her 60s maybe, and she makes TikToks pro-veganism, but she does it in a way that's very off-putting. And she'll be like, dump your boyfriend or girlfriend if they're not vegan. And she's like very inflammatory deliberately, because I think part of it is she loves clout. Sorry, carry on.
And so I think that she was quite flustered in terms of like having to respond to someone who's also vegan.
Exactly.
Because usually people I don't watch videos about like that vegan teacher, even like, because my favorite genre of YouTube is like commentary YouTube. That's the genre that I watch usually. And so a lot of creators talk about that vegan teacher, but it always ends up like making fun of veganism and not her. You know what I mean? They like let people enjoy a steak. Like I like, and just like making fun of veganism. Like that's not the point. That's not what we should be focusing on. The problem is what she's saying and how she's saying it. So then when she had to respond to me, I think she was clearly like slightly flustered in terms of knowing what to say. And she slipped up a few times and said some like shitty things.
No, she made fun of your eating disorder.
Yeah.
No.
I was...
Because I didn't watch her... I watched your response, but I didn't watch her video, so I didn't see...
Yeah, so...
It was quite bad.
That's horrible.
I don't remember exactly what she said, but I said that, like... Because I was a vegetarian, obviously, and then I went into eating disorder therapy when I was, like, 14. And one of the main rules of eating disorder therapy is, like, you know, obviously you're not allowed to cut out any more foods because you have, like, well, at least for restrictive eating disorder, obviously, you've already cut out so many food groups and foods and stuff that it's like really bad for your health to cut out anymore. Like
it's triggering behavior, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of like, if you have an eating disorder and you decide to go vegan, your brain is going to be like, this is an eating disorder decision. So then you have like a bad relationship with veganism because you've gone into it thinking you might think it's a moral decision, but it's attached to eating disorder behavior. So once you come out of therapy, you're going to be like less likely to want to stick to it as well.
And if you do, it could like be triggering.
It can be very like triggering for you. And so one of the rules is, because I wanted to go vegan and my therapist was like, no, you're not allowed to do that. And when I said that, and I explained all of that, she just like completely was like, no, that's wrong. You need a new therapist. I'm like... And then she...
Because she's a mental health professional, obviously.
Definitely, obviously.
Licensed therapist, that vegan teacher.
And she, like, mentioned... she mentioned how veganism can be good for your health. Like, and when she talks about being good for your health, she's talking about weight loss, like, directly. So if I was talking about veganism being good for your health, I'd be talking about, like, cardiovascular sort of health and stuff, because it's but she like talks about it directly, like some people need to go vegan to lose weight.
It'll
and
make
she's
you
like
skinny.
And she was like, you wouldn't understand because you're quite a slim person. And like it's this weird thing of like, in my video I was like made a comment that I don't like people commenting on my body, and like that's an inappropriate thing to do because of my eating disorder past. And then she directly like commented on my body. I was like, that's not an okay thing to do, really.
Yeah, she was faced with an actual argument and she just went straight for the insults.
Yeah.
That is really, I don't want to say disappointing because it's actually not surprising.
Yeah.
It's like, see, I do think there's a way to respond to creators, or respond to people in a way that is, you know, constructive and productive. Though that being said, I'm sure you get this a lot. Do you get people asking you to make response videos to people who have responded to you, like some random MRA channel that has like 3K subscribers? And I'm like, no, he's just a grumpy man. I don't give a shit what he thinks.
I had vegan gains after I made my vegan teacher video. Vegan gains is like another preachy vegan. Now, preachy vegans, like that vegan teacher, like vegan gains, they have a superiority complex, right? Their whole thing with how they preach veganism isn't to make people go vegan, it's to get validation from other vegans. It doesn't help, and you can see that, right?
If you want to save animals, you gotta get people on board.
I got really positive responses to my vegan teacher once where like a lot of people were like, this inspired me to make more vegan choices, this has made me consider it, because you talk about it like factually, and it's that thing of like, make more vegan choices, not like you have to dive straight into it.
Well, that's what you said about the whole, when she said don't date someone who's vegetarian or vegan. It's like, if you date someone, they are more likely to make vegan choices because they share meals with you.
But Vegan Gains was like, he was like, he made a video about it, like sort of saying how I don't care about animals because I'm not saying everyone has to be vegan. I'm like, I would love for everyone to be vegan, but I also know that that's unrealistic and that's pushing people away. And then he's like, I want to debate her. I will destroy her. And then I had...
Sounds like Ben Shapiro, but vegan.
Yeah. I had him tweet me. He made a video. He tweeted me. His followers started tweeting me. I got emails, comments on my videos. Like, tweets.
He'll destroy you.
He will destroy you.
You're
and
just a weak woman. You're nothing compared to the vegan games.
He's the worst type of vegan because he's an angry man.
Yes.
An angry cishet man, and so are all of his followers. Which it's great that there are like vegan men who want to talk about veganism, because a lot of there is like a whole thing about being vegan is like emasculine, which is the stupidest thing in the whole world. I've never heard anything as stupid. I might
lend you a book. It's called The Sexual Politics of Meat, and it's all about masculinity and meat. Have you heard of it? I'll lend you it. It's great. I think you enjoy it.
Yeah, so I'm glad that there's like at least a bunch of like vegan men who they're all bodybuilders and stuff. So it's like but also they still have a lot of like male privilege, and they can't keep themselves in check, and decided to come and like call me a weak woman, and I'm like, so I didn't respond to that. I had people ask me to. Obviously him and his followers were on me for like a few days, but like he's not someone who'd be willing to listen at all. There's no point.
No,
you
it
just
wouldn't
talk over me.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's just no point in talking to those people.
Those kinds of conversations are just to embarrass you. Yeah. That's all it is.
I actually think most online debate and debating in general it's an entertainment. It's not actually, okay, can we come to a mutual understanding? Can we learn more about the other side? And that was kind of the issue I had with Jubilee.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jubilee, if you're listening. Because literally the reason I bring that up is because when we talk about creators responding, someone who works at Jubilee sent me a really lovely email and took the criticisms really well. I just think the problem with a lot of the format is that if you're doing something for entertainment, you're going to erase nuance.
Absolutely.
Especially about really important issues. And that's the thing with like content creators when they're like, let's debate. It's like, to what end?
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen?
Exactly.
Your followers are going to be like, oh, they were destroyed, and their followers are going to be like, oh, they're...
Yeah.
The question comes in of like, would you still want the debate if there wasn't a camera?
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
A lot of people don't really know how to debate, and like
I
had to learn, like in therapy, a huge part of it, because the therapy program I did is all about validation. And like my therapist also did like criminal therapy, so she had to tell me like, you know, I have to sit and listen to like pedophiles talk, and I have to say that I understand them, and that's how you talk and like come to like a place of changing people's mind and getting them to understand more, is you have to validate their opinions. And a lot of people aren't very good at that. It's a really, really difficult thing to do, but that's what I try to do in terms of like if I'm having an actual conversation with someone and then they find it very hard to respond because they don't really know how to do that, and there's just it ends up with a lot of yelling and being a very one-sided sort of thing, and a lot of people don't know how to listen and have a conversation and validate each other, which means you're never going to get to a place of agreement. If I were to have a conversation with someone of an opposing view who also had the same therapy as me, we might be able to actually get somewhere. But since I know sort of how to have those arguments and they don't, it ends up like not working very well.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, two things I've learned, two of the best pieces of advice I've been given. The first is when someone's talking, whether it's a conflict, whether it's just like a nice conversation, wait till they're done talking to speak, right? If possible. Unless it's like, but you know what I mean? Like, especially in a conflict situation, let them say their piece, wait till they're finished. And the second being, what was the second one? Oh, the second being that rather than saying you do X, I feel you.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's changed my life. I know it sounds dramatic, but like,
no,
holy shit, I get in way less arguments now, or when I do, they're resolved much quicker because it's all about like, oh, I feel this, and then the person can be like, I didn't intend that, and it's like, great, awesome. Yeah. Now we can not do that in future.
Yeah. Exactly. And also like removing the word but from your language as well. So it's like, if you're
I'm sorry, but.
I love you, but.
I try, but my thing is that that's been so ingrained to me. Sometimes I take but out where it probably should be used. Like, because we always learn in therapy, instead of but, you say and. So sometimes that doesn't work. But I always I always cut out but, and I'm like, what did I put there? And it doesn't work. So I'm like, however, which is the same thing. But it is that thing of like, if you're like, talking to someone and they're saying they're struggling, you're like, I understand you feel that way, but it will get better, is like invalidating the I understand you feel that way thing. So you change it to I understand you feel that way, and it will get better. Is
exactly.
Like saying, because it can be both. You don't need to like...
Because all they hear is the but.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everything that comes before the but is instantly invalidated.
That's a good point.
So you change it to and then it's just much more validating. And that works for like talking to yourself as well.
Yes.
So it's really interesting how much like language can change.
That's why it annoys
everything.
when people are like, it doesn't matter, they're just words. It's like for the most part, that is how we communicate as human beings. Like that's what makes us different from other species.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
No, absolutely.
Especially that conversation is usually like around pronouns and things. I'm like, I'm sure you wouldn't like if I misgendered you either, man.
You get comments like that. It's like, you shouldn't call them men. It's like, you're not going to misgender people just because you disagree with them.
Yeah. That
They're
one
not
DM
real men.
Yeah. That one DM I got that was like, can you please stop calling them men, because as a man I don't want to be lumped together with them. Like, what? Yeah, like those.
If you
men.
said all men, every single man, then that'd be one thing.
But I'm like talking about specifically men, and they're like, I don't like being grouped together with those men. So can you call them something else? What? What else? They are men.
Yeah.
And this is an issue that like a lot of men have. Toxic masculinity affects like all men to some extent. Like whether it's something that you just have to unlearn. It like male privilege obviously impacts like every man.
Exactly.
So
it's not even, and obviously I know these issues aren't exactly the same, but as a comparison, like just as a white person, if you hear someone say something about white people and you get offended, then it's a bit like, maybe you're missing the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you're sort of not understanding. Like, well, first of all, if you think they're talking about you, that might be a sign that you're doing X. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. People, you can talk about groups in general, and I think people often take that quite personally.
I think that also comes into the argument of like what you're saying about the but. It's like if you're talking about like, so white people do this, and then someone comes along like, yes, they do, but I do this. It automatically, the argument is invalid. Men do this, but I don't do that. Okay, but you
not doing that doesn't change the fact that they all do that, and people are being hurt by that.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it feels like a way to like divert responsibility, because it's like you kind of want men to call out other men, and then they're like, but I don't do it. I'm like, but if you allow people to do it, then you do. That's like, you learn that at primary school. If you're a bystander, you're just as guilty.
Yeah, you're an enabler.
Yeah,
absolutely. So at the beginning, when we first met today, I mentioned that I asked subscriptions to submit questions, and nearly all of them were either gay or frogs. So for those who don't know, I mean, obviously we can kind of get what the gay is, but do you want to explain frogs to the listeners?
Gay people like frogs.
Okay. Yeah.
I have like my frog t-shirts that people always like.
You have frog earrings.
I have frog earrings.
Frogs
squeaky frog earrings.
Yeah. You did a frog TikTok once.
One time, one of my earlier videos was meant to be on gay TikTok, but they all ended up being frogs. I don't know how it happened, but I ended up on frog TikTok.
So this isn't to do with the podcast, but I need to ask, because I don't know, and I've been scared to ask. What's the difference between a frog and a toad? I genuinely don't know.
I also do not know.
Okay,
I don't know.
I'm glad it's not just me.
No. I think one's like more towards water. I could be making that up.
Are
that sounds right.
Toads
are ugly.
Toads are not as pretty.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
good to know.
The only thing. I have no idea. I don't know why you got so many comments saying frogs. I guess gay people are frogs.
Exactly. They were all frogs. Yeah, it was wild.
They saw the word queer and they were like, frog.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Well, I mean, unless you have other things to share with the people, I think we're good to
Yeah. I think
bid them adieu. Give them little kisses, little but consensually, of course. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for inviting us.
My absolute pleasure. You know, a bit starstruck when you came in. It's like, seeing you in the flesh, because obviously we've spoken online, so it's really nice to actually like,
It really is.
put an actual human face physical form. So that's nice.
Especially
do you want to?
After so long of not seeing like, real people.
I know. I'm still kind of relearning how to socialize.
Yeah.
Getting there. Do you want to plug your pluggables? Just tell people where they can find your work and stuff.
So the Queer Kiwi on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, which I never post on, but it exists. That Queer Kiwi on Twitter. I'm a mess on Twitter. I'm so sorry that you follow me on Twitter and you mentioning that you saw my tweet means that you see a bunch of my tweets and they're a mess.
Twitter's messy though.
I am like one person. I'm more like who I am in person on Twitter than I am anywhere else, but which is just chaotic.
Okay, nice.
But it's quite funny. So my Twitter is that Queer Kiwi because someone stole the Queer Kiwi like 11 years ago and haven't used it since 2009.
I hate it when it's an account that no one even uses because if they use it, then it's like, okay, at least it's being enjoyed. But the waste.
Over 10 years. And I want it.
There should be a rule that if an account's been inactive.
There was a rule.
Oh, but they changed it.
Yeah.
They must have because the account isn't. It's still there.
God damn.
And then we have a podcast that we never do, which is the Savvy Cat podcast. That's also on YouTube and on Spotify.
It's much less professional than this one.
Oh, don't be fooled. This is not my place. I'm merely borrowing it.
Usually our podcast is we sit down and we just
start in one place and end up in the other, and usually one of us is screaming.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah. I have a K-pop YouTube account. So,
awesome.
That's
You
Cat.
also have a book.
Oh yeah, I forgot I wrote 2 books.
Oh my god, please. Books are a big deal. Share your books.
I have one called Water and Oil and one called Adulthood. They're poetry books by Cat Rutherford. That's me.
Nice. And what was the YouTube again?
Cat Rutherford, same thing.
Awesome.
They're on Amazon. They're just poetry books. And yeah.
Awesome.
I forgot I also have music. I always forget that I also do music.
I listened to it earlier today.
Oh,
because obviously I'd heard like bits of it, but I properly listened and it's so good.
Why, thank you.
Done.
I will
many talents.
Eventually have more.
Oh, good.
When? No idea.
Yeah.
But it'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
But I'm Savannah on Spotify. And I also have music videos on a separate YouTube channel, which is also just called Savannah.
Awesome.
I think a lot of people because my end screen song is my own song. A lot of people don't know that it's my song.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So pretty.
I wrote it when I was 15, I think.
It's lovely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that'll be all. I don't know if you notice at the end of my videos I do a bye-bye, like in Toy Story. Do you want to do that together? So if we just go bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Let's do it. Yeah, let's go. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye.